Welcome to Brain Health Besties, a human-forward podcast for those of us who want to feel better but don't know where to start. I'm Bailey, a licensed professional counselor.
And I'm Nia, a qualified mental health professional.
And I'm Shelby, a human.
We are so glad you're here. And we believe that you deserve to know how your brain works and how to nurture it, even when self-care feels a little challenging.
We focus on kindness to ourselves and recognizing our own needs with as little guilt as possible, because your brain deserves a bestie.
Stars in my eyes, I can't see which way is right, but oh, if there's one thing that I know, it's only up front.
Hey besties, the practices we talk about here are great for your brain, but this podcast isn't treatment. If you're feeling overwhelmed, please call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Help is always available. Hey besties, welcome to this Learning Together episode. Today we are focusing on all things winter holidays and the social, emotional, and physical overwhelm and max that can come with that. What we hope is to help us build a holiday survival toolkit so we can be in it with each other and together and navigate the holidays with a little bit of grace and understanding for ourselves and for others. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of all of that, let's take a moment to pause and kind of self-assess, see where we are today. That thinking of that 0 to 5 scale, where 0, we're completely calm and at ease, cool as cucumbers, all the way up to 5, where we're maybe struggling, crisis mode. Take a deep breath in and try to assess where we are in this moment.
Yeah, I am maybe a 1.5, 1.75. It's a little higher than I usually am, but it's been a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm at a 1. I think for me, it's always fun, being here in the studio and being with you all in a different way. And I've got a little something else coming up that I'm kind of excited about. So I'm kind of focused on keeping it chill. That's my plan anyway.
Yeah.
That's my plan.
Maintaining the chill.
Yeah.
I am not maintaining chill right now. I would put myself probably around a 3, although it's coming down. I'm probably closer to like a 2.75 now. But y'all, if I'm being completely honest, and there is just change in every corner of my life, and some change, I'm like, most of it's good change. And a little, I tend to embrace change. However, when there is no aspect of my life that's not being touched by change, it can feel really ungrounded and kind of floaty. And I'm sort of navigating that space of I'm pivoting and changing in all spaces. So that's kind of where I'm coming. I feel like this conversation is very timely because I'm going with that mentality into the holiday season, and having a plan in place, I think, will be vital when it comes to navigating this time of life and navigating the upcoming season. So I'm glad to be having it.
Yeah, well, good. That is kind of why we do that self-assessment here. It reminds us to actually check in with ourselves and kind of see where we are. And today, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about kind of putting some words to kind of how we're feeling and being able to look forward to different scenarios maybe so we can have a little bit of a plan. Mm-hmm. We're building a toolkit, but it's not, the heavy one with the hammers and the things in it. Instead, it's one that we get to, bend and mold and shape for ourselves, and it's easy to take with us. With some practice, we get to kind of use what we need to, try something else. So this is going to be pretty cool because, again, the holidays can have all of it in there. It can have kind of a messy chaos, but that could be kind of the excitement of it, but also kind of the, I don't know, maybe not excitement about it, or the dynamics that come through for the holidays in lots of ways. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's all of it together.
Yep. Yeah. And we, sorry, Shelby.
Oh, no.
I was just going to mention, I interrupted you twice. So sorry.
It's okay.
I was going to mention that this is such a big topic that we decided to break this out into 4 episodes. So we'll have, this one is pretty much focused on all the external factors that can happen in the holiday season. And then we'll have a practice that focuses on that. And then the next Learning Together episode 30, will be focused on kind of internally how we're showing up for ourselves and giving ourselves grace during this holiday season. So this is too big of a topic to shove into just 2 episodes. So that's kind of where we're going with this too.
Yes. Yep. And today we are saying the things, besties. Yep. We are saying the things that maybe I feel like I'm the only one that has ever thought that or felt that. And that's just not generally true. We know the human experience is pretty parallel to each other. So we're gonna say the things out loud, and we're gonna talk through it.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm ready. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. So we think about, I kind of want to think about this holiday season. Oftentimes, at least and I'll speak from my experience, feel this pressure to feel the joy, to have the cheer, to have all the magic. And very frequently, that is either not what I'm feeling or not only what I'm feeling. So I'm curious for you all, what do you do or how do you navigate when joy feels far away, when cheer is not happening, when you're really wanting that holiday magic and it's just not coming together?
Yeah. Y'all, I have been braced for the holidays since the Burr month started. And I don't love feeling that way because I love the holidays and I love my family and I love spending time together and all the things that come with the holidays. But there are so many things that come with the holidays. And so I have really intentionally this year been trying to find moments of ease or joy or things that I really enjoy instead of trying new things, which I am a hobby hopper. I am always trying new things and starting something new. Instead of trying new things, I'm trying to really lean into the things that I know work. That way I'm not disappointed that the new thing didn't work and then also all the other stuff is still there. So I've really been trying to lean into what I know works this year.
Yeah, finding joy in those things. I like that. What about you, Neil?
Well, I was going to back up a little bit maybe, but we always talk about the yes and, right? And for us, the yes and is the idea that, like Shelby was saying, it's not always just one thing, right? Our emotions they could change every 2 seconds, every 3 seconds, every hour, whatever it is. So I think that's part of it too, is that we can have all these different experiences and even looking forward to the holidays. But sure, it comes with a little bit of, a little bit of preparation is what you were saying. So I just wanted to put that out there too about that yes and that we could be excited about the holidays coming, but also a little bit worried about something that might go on.
Yeah.
And we've touched on the yes and a few times, but there's some scientific research and stuff behind that. Bailey, do you mind telling us where the yes and comes from?
I would love to. You know me. Anytime you can get me talking about the science, I get a little
Bailey's
excited.
Our resident science nerd.
That brings me joy.
In the most loving way.
I fully embrace that. So actually, yes and comes from dialectical behavioral therapy, which in the therapy world, we call one of our big evidence-based practices, which, y'all, it's just fancy language to mean that they've researched a lot and shown that it's effective with particular populations and with regular practice, right? But it is this idea, kind of like, or exactly like Nia was saying, that we are complicated, that we are duplicitous, that we can have multiple experiences at one time, that I can feel joyful to be celebrating the holidays with my family and completely overstimulated at the exact same time, that I can be looking forward to a situation and also feel a little bit anxious about that at the same time, or a lot bit anxious. I can feel like I am so excited about a social engagement, and then when I get there, I'm like, why did I commit to this? We're complicated. Our world is complicated. And so I think a lot of times culturally we try to boil things down or simplify them. And the reality is we are far more nuanced than that. And so are our experiences. So that's kind of where that concept of the yes and comes from. And it's really helpful to acknowledge it.
Yeah. And holding that with as little guilt and shame as possible, which is really hard. And something I want to touch on is the guilt in the holiday season. Is something that I feel personally a lot, whether it's guilt that I should feel more joyful or guilt that I didn't get to this party or guilt that I don't have presents for everybody or whatever it is. I feel that guilt a lot. And I was wondering if that is something you guys have also dealt with.
Yeah, I think guilt is probably a huge thing, not only around the holidays, but a huge thing for people.
Yeah.
And it comes from, who knows where it comes from, really. I mean, it comes from a lot of different areas. Sometimes it's parents feeling guilt because they, like you were saying, maybe couldn't get the perfect gift or my child didn't like the gift. Maybe it is expectations we had for ourselves, planning all these things on time and the perfect thing here and the perfect thing there and getting to this person's house and this person's house and this person's house. And you're running late, and that brings guilt to yourself too. Sometimes with that guilt, we get to support a lot of people, as you both know, through staff, through the community. And we ask them some questions about just how life is for them. And this one really, I would say, is one that comes up a lot. The idea of them feeling guilty in their lives, them feeling like they are not enough as the people that they are, showing up how they are. So I think this is one that is kind of, maybe it's just kind of in the times that we're in. So I think guilt is certainly huge. And I wonder if part of it is kind of thinking back to all the things that we had or we didn't have, and maybe it's traditions I grew up with. I'm trying to emulate them the same way for my son, and then something happens and doesn't work. Or on the other hand, things I didn't have. Maybe I didn't have traditions, but now I'm trying to put them in, and it's kind of tricky because I didn't have them anyway. So how can I know what to do if I didn't have them? And I'm just trying to do it. So yeah, I think guilt does show up a lot, and I think to talk about guilt and to kind of get through that guilt and work with it, we have to practice with it. And I think first would be kind of noticing that we're experiencing it, and then being able to kind of figure out what our next step is.
Yeah. Well, and Nia, thank you so much for whatever the way you just said that. And we talk about guilt and shame a lot, but I just had this aha light bulb moment, and it kind of links back into Brene Brown's work on feelings. And what a lot of what she talks about is disappointment is when our expectations are not met. Right. That is oftentimes what kind of perpetrates disappointment for us, right? And I don't know that this necessarily says in her work, but I'm curious and wondering if guilt is when we are not meeting others' expectations. I feel guilty when I think either I believe other people have expectations or they do have expectations that I'm not meeting, that those are mismatched. And I feel disappointment when I have expectations and other people are not meeting those expectations, or the situation is not meeting an expectation. So however you just said that, I was like, oh, I think that's the nuance for me. Yeah. And that's really important because there are so many expectations around the holiday season. There are expectations to show up like in all the places, to not miss anything, to have all, like you were saying, all the gifts. And sometimes there are internal and external factors that make those expectations impossible. We financially cannot get everybody gifts or the perfect gift or our kiddo that thing that they really, really want this holiday season. Or maybe our social calendar is so jam-packed that we can't show up or can't show up meaningfully in all of those spaces. And then I'm wondering if that guilt comes from we believe other people have expectations about how we're going to show up and we just can't meet them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm sorry, Shelby.
Oh, no. And I was just going to say that's a lot of that societal pressure is almost just baked into our daily lives anymore, whether it's from social media or it's from billboards, like whatever it is that gives you that pressure to create the perfect thing or to do the thing or show up in all the spaces, movies. It's just like baked into our DNA at this point, and it's hard to slow down enough to kind of not really combat that, but see anything but that.
Yeah. And I think about, like, for me as a parent, I think some of the biggest expectations and pressure I put on myself is to create like this magical season for my kiddos. But I can promise you that magic does not happen when I'm stressed and maxed and snapping at everybody and irritable and on edge. That's not magical for me. That's not magical for my poor littles or my partner or anybody who is in the 30 feet around me. That it can create so much extra stress and overwhelm, which I think it comes from, I don't know, it comes from a lot of different places. Internal expectations, societal expectations.
Yeah. And we're really going to dive into that internal piece in our next Learning Together episode. We are really focusing on the external things in this episode, but I did have another thought. Sometimes my guilt snowballs into what is more accurately described as grief. Whether it's guilt that I'm not carrying on traditions, or the traditions are gone and I was supposed to uphold them, or whatever that is. I think grief can really be amplified during the holiday season.
And grief is, again, another huge one. This is why we kind of broke up these episodes. But grief can be for lots of things and have kind of different degrees, right? Like Shelby, you were just saying, sometimes it can kind of come back at the holidays, or maybe it's the first time that we're having a certain holiday without a person in our lives. That could be a person that's no longer in our lives, but different ways. It could be a relationship that's injured, right? That person's just not showing up. It could be somebody else that we've lost in other ways as well. Grief can be for, maybe it's our own goals we haven't met, and here it's the holiday, almost the end of the year, or it's grief or over just the pains we've had. We're not in the spot where we thought we were going to be in life. We again aren't able to bring the things that we normally bring to this dinner, or maybe it's that we don't even celebrate this particular holiday, but our family does, or our friends do. And how do I fit into that? And it's kind of a loss. So it's just so big.
Yeah, and like just to piggyback and even expand off some of the grief points that you made, Nia. Yes, we can grieve losses of traditions and people and situations. If we have adult children and they have moved out and this is our first holiday without them, or we have children who are creating their own traditions, and there can be change in that as well. That can be a grief and loss process. And I think the holidays kind of amplify, the grief happens all year round, but it kind of puts a microphone to those things and just can make them feel a little more tender, a whole lot more loud. Like I think about this several years after my mom died. She passed in October, and that first holiday season was really rough, but it continued to be hard for a long time because it wasn't, we were missing her dearly as a human being, but also she was the matron of the family. She organized everything. She pulled everybody together. She was doing so much behind the scenes that I don't think any of us really realized until she wasn't there. And so it wasn't just grieving her, but it was grieving, holidays used to feel this way and they don't because she's not running the show. Yeah. And then it was this weird space of, okay, what traditions do we keep and what do we let go? And everybody in our family was in different places with that. It's like this tradition was really important to her, but it doesn't feel the same without her here. Do we continue that? Do we do something different? And so I think there's also like navigating these external factors, trying to figure out what traditions still work for us, what traditions are no longer working for us. And then maybe the hardest part, how do we have those conversations with our families and meet the needs of everybody else too?
Yeah. I think that might be part of the self-care aspect, right? So how do we get through these tough times or the holidays or the things that are coming up, caring for ourselves? So maybe that is one of those first steps, is to kind of realize what does fit now, or maybe there's new traditions too and new ways to do things. So again, giving us that ourselves that permission, and having some I guess fortitude to step forward and say, hey, let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
And that can be really hard. I mean, setting boundaries of any kind or having difficult conversations with family can be really hard. And we don't want to negate that by just saying, set boundaries and you'll feel better. Because we know
sometimes
that's hard. Or you don't want to set boundaries. You just want it to be easy, and sometimes it's not.
Well, and I think, so this kind of gets into the survival toolkit a little bit here. I think boundary setting is a very popular concept right now, and boundary setting can look like a lot of different things. It can be, saying the hard no to a social event that's not going to serve you. But boundaries can also be how you intentionally plan your time around. My partner, and I have permission to share this, but he is a person who socially, he loves being around people, but it drains his energy. And for me, depending on who it is, especially like my close-knit people, being around my people actually energizes me. It charges my battery. And it took us a long time to figure out how to navigate that. And so we've kind of gotten to this place where, yes, he wants to go to the family function or the social party or all of the different things, but he needs time before and time after. He needs prep time, and then he needs time to recover before the next engagement. And so we try to be really intentional about planning that time so that he gets what he needs, that I get what I need, that our kiddos get what they need. Yeah. But that has taken a long time to navigate and figure out. And I think sometimes there are also situations where saying no isn't truly an option, like without completely just damaging dynamics. Right. And so how can we say yes or yes and something different? Like maybe we go to the office party, but we have a plan that after an hour and a half, we have an out and we're going to leave because we know that we'll be at our max. Yeah. Or we have a situation where we kind of set up pre-experience that helps our brains navigate that situation.
Yep. And it's really just about knowing yourself, right? And knowing what you're going to need. I love my family dearly. Let me preface that. Love my family. However, they are real loud, especially around the holidays. There's a lot of us in a small house. Everybody's trying to be heard over everybody else. And I know that will give me a headache. It overstimulates me. I know that. So oftentimes, about 30 minutes in, you'll find my dad and I out on the porch, just soaking in a little bit of silence. And I know that about myself. And so I'm okay stepping outside. Yeah. Things like bringing earplugs or different things to help lower some of that stimulation is also an option. It's really just about knowing what works for you and practicing that so that you're comfortable continuing to do that during the holidays.
Yeah, and I wonder too. Thinking ahead, like you said you even bring your coat. You know,
oh, I do.
You know you're going to be outside.
100%.
So I wonder if there's more that we can think about ahead of time, right? Yeah. If there's a certain person that sometimes that conversation just goes a little bit sour or it's difficult. Maybe we have something we can think about to say to be able to kind of let yourself out.
Yep.
There's always the excuses you can make, right? So Shelby got to check on my dad.
Gotta go check on my dad. Right. Oh, the trash can's getting full. I'm going to take that out to the dumpster.
Right. And those aren't lies, right? That's sometimes people think that's kind of lying. It's not lies. Instead, that is feeling that you need that extra time and being able to figure out how to kind of get that for yourself.
And to be honest, even that sometimes can feel tricky because like sometimes our families see that and that we kind of we get poked fun of oh yeah, Shelby's probably outside on the porch. Nobody can find her. And kind of preparing our brains for that or having a wing person that can be like, yeah, she just needs some space to kind of back us up. So we're not feeling like the butt of people's jokes or feeling like it's not okay for us to care for our brains. And I think the biggest thing, and we'll kind of get into how to do that in the next episode, but I think the biggest things here are, we know that overstimulated and stressed brains have a hard time being in that cognitive frontal lobe functioning piece. It's harder to recall our tools when we are overwhelmed and stressed. And so going in with a plan to the holiday season, to a particular event, to the gift giving, to all of that can help us be as prepared as possible. Also knowing that there are going to be things we can't predict and that are going to fly at us and we'll have to navigate there. But if we have some kind of plan, it can help.
Yep. Besties, join us in episode 30, where we are building our holiday survival kit, leaning into what works and figuring out how we're going to make it through the holiday season.
Yep, together.
Together. I love that.
Take care, besties. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to Brain Health Besties so you can find us in the future.
And since sharing is kind, share us with your besties.
If you have mental health or wellness topics you'd like us to chat about, please reach out to bewell@livebrightly.org.
Until next time, be well, besties.
Shining brighter than the sun.